this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Now this goes against the grain, it goes against things I've said, but I'm going to get on with it anyway. My theory was that any repots necessary without waiting, until next sort of spring, which is traditional, not necessarily the right time for all plants, but I did say I'd wait until the cooler weather and the shorter days kick in so that the stressing of repotting the plant would be less. Yeah? But there's also the theory that this particular plant, now this one came from Burnham's, it's just a Masdevallia hybrid, it's growing incredibly well. It's putting up a lot of new growths. I've got a feeling I might have even seen a spike or two in amongst that lot. Possibly. Difficult to tell with that lot. But there's lots of new growths. And this is the thing. If there's lots of new growths, there's going to be new roots. It's in pure compacted sphagnum moss. Now okay, those roots will probably do great in that media, but not if it starts to go off. So why not get those new roots into a media where they can stay for some considerable time? Now I've had this out of the pot, it hasn't got bad roots. It didn't have bad roots. These are going already. But up round here are new ones and lots of new growths. So it's coming out. See, that was the fact that it came from Burnham's. It's not necessarily one of their plants. The fact that it's just a no ID hybrid, it's unlikely. These roots are going. They're already going. Right, so I've got to go careful with the ones which are probably reasonable, which are up round the top of the pot. There's a ring of them. This is just moss and old dead roots in the middle. And you see the moss changes colour as you get towards the centre. That's the original plug, that bit there, and it wasn't taken off, so it was basically potted on into a bigger pot, leaving that in the middle, which takes the roots down. And any of the new roots from above that go down into that are just going to die. And the fact that that would be so acidic, it would be helping to turn the rest of the moss off, like contamination. Right, so all I've done really is taken that central core out, which is, there's no use, there's nothing in there I want to keep. Now when I get under the tap, I should be able to tease the rest out. Now, this is highly likely to be more than one plant. I can see breaks. I can see one going through there, so that looks like it might be a plant. And then this could be one or two. I'm going to try and keep it as one plant. It's a nice looking plant, and with the number of new growths coming, it's going to be a nice looking plant. But as you can see, a lot of the roots have already gone. So first thing I can do is trim, because there's nothing here that's alive. Nothing. These have all gone. And therein lies the problem I've had with trying to grow things like Masdevallias. It's trying to start with a good one. See, now if you think the one I bought off of Mick, I'm starting with a really good plant. I bet that's got a really good root system. It's been potted up by somebody who grows Masdevallias, so it'll be used to dealing with them, and it will be in a media that suits the plant. Again, experience, which I haven't got, and I'm unlikely to get if I keep killing the flipping things. So my only hope with this is that the new growths push down new roots into a media that they're happy with, because I'm not going to end up with much of this left that's any good. There are a few. There is a little bit up round the top there. Here there are some, but there's not much. So I'm going to end up with very little roots. Right, I shall wash the rest under the tap, and hopefully it comes off quite easily under the tap where these what could be reasonable roots are. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying they could be, and where the new roots will be starting from up around the top. So this area here is delicate because this is where new roots are liable to be sprouting from, and I'm sure they'll get going an awful lot better if they go into a nice clean shiny new media. So we'll have a clear up. It's amazing how much comes out, isn't it, once you start fluffing it up. You can find the label when you fluff it up. Right, so we'll oh, that does smell, yeah, Fausty. Not horrible, but not good. On its way out. How much more damage would have been done to the new roots that have yet to get down into this media if I'd left this till the autumn? This is the problem that I've had in the past, it's just leaving it too long. Right, so we'll have a clean up and then get the media that I want. Small cocoa husk into soak, because I know I'm going to be using some of that. So I need that done in advance, but the rest of the media that I'm going to use I need to go and get, plus I need to sort out a suitable sized pot. Wide and shallow. Or deep and wide with lots of crocking to make it shallow, but one way or the other I don't want a deep pot. None of these roots have gone deep and survived. All the good roots have gone round the top of the pot. So let's have a clean up. I'll be back. Okay, now I just did a quick check, which I wouldn't normally do, but as I've got a good Masdevallia from Mick that was a division potted up by the man, I thought, well, hang on, how did he judge what size pot to put that size division in? So I've been and had a look, and basically if you take the width of the plant, it's not far off that all the way round. You know, so if the plant was say 2 inches across, you know, there's a good inch to an inch and a half of growing space. Okay, it's a square pot, which I don't use, so that, you know, it's bigger into the corners than it is to the long sides, sort of thing. But I've sort of thought along the lines that, you know, most of the stuff I repot goes in the smallest pot I can get it in, doesn't it? Well, how about giving this some room to grow? It's not a huge amount of room, but it's a lot more than I would normally give. So I'm going to run with that. So we'll have it's an air cone pot. So we'll chuck some chunky stuff in the bottom. That's the last of that chunky stuff in that bag, but I do have another bag somewhere. Right, so it's quite a deep layer of large bark for crocking because of the air cone. So that means that air can always get into those holes and not get messed up, not get blocked up, bunged up, whatever you want to call it. Right, and then the rest of the mix is going to be Burnham's medium bark, which I call small. So we'll have some of that. Don't want to mix up too much, but I want enough. I don't want to run out. And we will pick out the sticks and bits of wood and things. It's not too bad. I mean, if I didn't do this, it probably wouldn't matter. It's more for cosmetic reasons, because the sticks and the bits of wood are a totally different colour. I'm colour coordinating now. I don't know. Anyway, I usually do that. Let's see why I should do it any different this time round. No, I'm only putting them back in the pot, aren't I? Bin for you, my lads. Right, so we'll add some charcoal, and we'll do that while it's dry, because I'm about to add wet. So we'll add some charcoal in. I'm pretty sure I saw some charcoal in mix. Again, I haven't got a clue how much to add. Enough to get my hands dirty anyway. So that's that. Bearing in mind that looks quite a bit of charcoal, but I haven't got the cocoa husk in yet. Right, now all I'm going to do is look for big bits of bark, and we'll take those out. You don't need any giant pieces in here. There'll be plenty of air with just the normal stuff. Right, and then we'll put our cocoa husk in, pre-soaked. I just will add the lot in, otherwise I've got some wet stuff that I don't know what to do with. Right, so that's my mix. Now the cocoa husk was hand picked basically. I took out handfuls out of the bag and then picked out all the big bits and put them back in the bag, which left the small bits. I mean, there's a couple of larger bits in there, but in the main they break up quite easy. So that's my mix, and I hope that is suitable, because basically we've got to encourage the roots to grow on this plant. Let me just rinse my hands. Charcoal off. Right, so what we got left with on the plant was not a huge root system, but a lot of the roots are reasonable. They're just not going down, they're going round. So in this area here there are some reasonable roots. There's still some manky ones. I was getting to the point where I was struggling to, I didn't get absolutely every bit of moss off, but I got most of it. And this is the oldest part of the plant where the dead roots are, so that would relate to this bit of the plant. But on this bit of the plant are some new growths. So there should be a new spurt of roots in that area. So we've got some roots that are okay. They're not pointing downwards, so they don't look very long, but some of them are. So I've just seen a couple of manky areas which I'll pull off, but I can't go too mad. That's it basically. That would split probably into 4 nice sized divisions if I was so inclined, but what am I going to do with them? That's the problem. And a no ID Masdevallia hybrid, to people who grow Masdevallias, probably doesn't have much value or interest. They'd want a name at least, even though the blooms are quite attractive, which is what made me buy the thing in the first place. Right, so a reasonable amount there. I'm hoping that when this plant gets in some reasonable media, a lot of these roots will start growing downwards. And I don't want the plant too high in the pot. I want it quite deep in the pot. You can always lift it up later, add a bit more down the sides. So, relatively loose fit. And I know it's unconventional, but those roots around the top of the plant, in the main, were in the moss, so they weren't exposed. Now, if I leave them exposed now, they probably won't be very happy, so they've got to go in. So I want the media up to the base of the plant, yeah, so that any roots that come out are moist. That's one of the main purposes of using the cocoa husk, is a moist environment in and around it. Doesn't look bad. I'm just looking for areas of the plant now that seem to be a bit exposed. I think I've got many. I think I've got most of it. So there's a little area of the plant there where I can see a few new roots. Well, I don't want to see them. I want them under the media so that they stay moist. And that way they should continue to grow. Right, that'll do. That will get watered in, which will settle it a lot. We'll give it a tap. Settle it down a bit. I sometimes think that by doing that you actually shake it loose rather than compact it. Anyway, got the media up round the base of the plant, which is what I wanted. And that will have a nice watering now. Good soak, otherwise the cocoa husk will start to dry very quickly, because the bark and the charcoal will bone dry and they will suck the moisture out of the cocoa husk. And if the cocoa husk goes totally dry, it's not very easy to wet again. Not very easy at all. Right, so we've got air in there, we've got moisture retention, and we've got the media up round the top of the plant. Hopefully that will do. Good soaking now. The telltale sign that the disturbance isn't too great will be that the new growths continue to grow and open their leaves. Yeah, rather than their leaves just staying closed, which means they're not getting hydrated. So providing there's enough roots there to hydrate, which, I mean, it didn't look like much, but I planted Masdevallias with less roots than that. Mind you, they did die. Anyway, so we'll give that a good watering now, make sure it doesn't dry out under any circumstances, and put it in a shadier place than perhaps it would live normally, on the grounds I'm not trying to get it to bloom. I'm not trying to induce blooming, I'm trying to induce root growth from all of these lovely, there's new leaves all over the place in here. There, one here, here. There's loads, and all up through the middle, larger growths up through the middle. There are loads of new leaves. So I think root production is sort of on its way, and hopefully those new roots will take off reasonably quickly and plentifully, if there is such a word. Well, if there isn't, I've just made it up and I like it. So there we go, one Masdevallia hybrid. I will keep the original tag because it tells me it's the one that came from Burnham's. Simple as that. And then that also IDs it in my notes, which also IDs the actual picture of the bloom that goes with that plant. It all links it all together. Works quite well. Right. I'm going to stop fiddling with that. I'm not doing any good now, I'm just fiddling. So we'll see how we get on. Keep a close eye on it, make sure it doesn't go dry. There's nothing in that media that can go off, so I can keep it as wet as I like. Literally. You know, I could stand it in water, it's not going to go off. So it's not going to deteriorate to an extent that it does any damage to the roots. It can only do good. Yeah, so we'll keep it nice and moist and see how it goes. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.